I would not want to be a pro wrestling booker. It's so hard to get it wrong. And when you do, people are so quick to get mad. It must just be really, really sad. And even when you get the right guy, some people still think you've made a mistake, so it's just a constant barrage of nonsense and heartbreak. I think I'll give it a miss. There have been times in WWE history though when someone with all the tools hasn't necessarily worked out, even though it really should have worked out. Can't account for that stuff, mind. Just have to go with your gut and then adjust a suit. I'm Simon from WhatCulture.com, and this is 10 times WWE got the guy wrong. Number 10, Jinder Mahal. I know we can debate this till the cows come home, but ultimately, Jinder Mahal is not the guy, or at least he wasn't when he was first given the title. There was so much potential here to build Jinder up and make him feel like a credible threat that it was ridiculous when we just ignored all that and threw the World Championship on him from nowhere. Mahal could have improved and had a solid push. Sounds like a better plan to me. Now, however, he's okay, but I don't think anyone sees him in the same vein as John Cena, and that really is what you should be aiming for when you're trying to create the guy. I'm not even sure it's working out that well in India either, which was the plan. So right now, who knows what the aim is? Still, Mahal is a super nice guy. Good for him. Number 9, Rey Mysterio. Sometimes you have the momentum to be the guy, but the people in the back scupper that, and all of a sudden you don't feel like the guy anymore. Welcome Rey Mysterio. It even started badly though, because when he did win the title at WrestleMania 22, WWE was in Chicago. When you're in Chicago, well, the fans just do whatever the hell they want. As such, when Rey did lift that big belt above his head, the crowd didn't get behind his coronation. It all felt super awkward. That's not the kind of start you want, and given that he was then just treated like a joke, well, it was just downhill from there. It really didn't need to be the case. Number 8, Rob Van Dam. Just for clarity's sake, I'm not saying people on this list weren't deserving. They nearly all were, and RVD definitely was. That doesn't mean it all went swimmingly when he became the champion. He also wasn't a failure when he was the main man, and given how popular he was with the fans, there's every chance he could have made a real go of it. It's with hindsight where it all starts to fall apart. Barely a month after he had won the WWE title, he was stripped of the gold after he found himself in trouble with the law. Now, if you are going to be the guy, you can't be doing that. So it was just a huge obstacle that smacked RVD in the face harder than concrete. It probably stopped Vince McMahon from ever booking him that way again, because once more, if you're the guy, a lot is expected from you. Being pulled over by the cops is not one of those things. Number 7, RYBACK. While RYBACK may never have won the WWE title, there was a time where he was being treated as a main event talent. It was clear there were serious plans in place. We're not allowed to say he was going to be the next Goldberg because people get mad, but that was clearly the idea on some level. He was booked as a monster. It did pick up as well, because when he entered the main event scene, fans started to care and viewing numbers were very healthy indeed. The thing was, he just never seemed to click fully. Whether this was because he was being held back or just didn't have the chops, RYBACK soon fell away from the top of the card and settled into the pack. Could he have been more? Maybe. But so much has happened since then, I don't think that's ever going to be the case. Number 6, Jack Swagger. There was something about Jack Swagger when he busted onto the scene in 2008, even if that something was he was a bit of a gangly goofball. He was entertaining though, I loved him. Probably a victim of being pushed too early and needing some more time to improve, he won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 26 and then the World Championship just days later. If you wanted to throw someone to the top very quickly, this was the way to do it. The problem was he wasn't ready, and that's exactly how fans saw it. He wasn't a proper champion in that sense, and was just someone holding a title, and that's never going to work long term. And it didn't. And now he doesn't even work for the WWE anymore. Jeez. Number 5, Alberto Del Rio. Much like our friend Jinder Mahal, Alberto Del Rio's push came at first because WWE wanted to curry favour with a specific demographic, in this case, the Hispanic market. Rey Mysterio had done the job before, but now they wanted someone new. That's why it wasn't too surprising when Del Rio won the Royal Rumble in 2011, but it was probably a mistake. Only debuting 6 months earlier, it was another case of too much too soon, and the fact he then lost his Mania match to Edge just confused the situation further. Poor booking definitely hurt Del Rio as much as anything else, but he just never grew into one of the company's biggest stars, even though that was obviously what they wanted. He always seemed more exciting away from the promotion as well, so maybe that was the issue. The two could just never get it together. Number 4, Jeff Hardy. Getting the guy wrong doesn't necessarily mean you've chosen the wrong person. On occasion, you just didn't look at the situation from all angles. When Jeff Hardy stepped into the role of top babyface in 2008, he absolutely deserved it. The crowd loved everything he did and wanted to see him in this position. The problem was his contract. While I'm sure WWE wanted to set him up at the top for years, that's not what happened, and 2 years later, Jeff jumped to TNA. and that wasn't good. It would have been dumb to have ignored how popular Hardy was during this era, so it wasn't overly stupid, but looking back today, this should have been tied up in order to make it work for as long as possible. If anything, a rival company simply benefited from someone else's effort. Number 3, Diesel. WWE was struggling during the mid-90s as WCW began to find its feet and its roster wasn't exactly filled with depth. It was tough to actually decide who should be the guy. To be fair, if I then saw 6'10" Kevin Nash, well, I can understand why you choose him. Massive man. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. Not only did his matches never really connect with the crowd, but he just never felt like the man, so to speak, mostly because said fans weren't ready to accept him as such. Nash certainly suffered because of the time he was given the belt, but there's no two ways about it. It wasn't until he went to WCW that he truly started to feel like a main event talent. Number 2, Roman Reigns. Of course, who else? Much like Nash, it's not hard to see why WWE are high on Roman Reigns, because he ticks a lot of the boxes that make for a top guy. Plus he's very good in the ring, despite what a lot of people say. But if the fans don't take to you in the role you're put in, it doesn't matter what the case may be. You can call an apple an orange forever, but it's still a damn apple. Reigns did suffer a bit from circumstances outside his control, such as Daniel Bryan, but the real problem today is that WWE just doesn't adapt to what its fan base is saying. That creates a real issue because now it's almost become a war between the audience and management, and that is just ridiculous. It's even more silly as Roman always tells us that he is in fact the guy, but no, you're not. Number 1, JBL. JBL's 2004 transformation from one half of a tag team to the single biggest heat magnet in WWE was pretty impressive, and perhaps with a little more build-up, you could argue it deserved to be capped with a short world title run. But dominating SmackDown for nearly a year, cutting short Eddie Guerrero's long-awaited main event push, one of the headline spots of WrestleMania 21, that was all a little bit too much, especially since he was a stiff and meticulous worker and never really put on that good of a match when he did step between the ropes. In the end, WWE got out of the JBL experiment to focus on John Cena's WWE Championship challenge in early 2005, but the year or so that preceded that, well, that was a little rough.